Hamjambo family here. Welcome to the Blackwood Financial Express Show. My name is Spikes, and this is a show we get to discuss different matters affecting us as the African youth, whether it be it you are in Central Africa, West Africa, South Africa, whatever part of Africa you are, and also matters to do with us as a Black people, even globally, not just African youth. And of course, we also do have a Kami on the show. Karibu sana.
Hi everyone. I do hope that you are doing okay. My name is Kami, and of course, I'm looking forward to an amazing show today.
And now, of course, today the changing has changed. The setting has changed, and I can see buses moving around and everything else at the background. I'm wondering how is your day coming along? How is your day coming up?
My day is absolutely amazing, considering that it is a Friday, and yeah, my day is okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Let me know if you can hear me.
I do hear you. I can hear you. Yes, I hear you.
Okay, my day is turning out quite okay. I am in my. All right. Okay, my day okay. Sorry, my day is absolutely amazing. I'm in my former learning institution, that is at the university, the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and I think so amazing here. I'm witnessing a lot of changes. Also, I can see that students are on their way home. You know, the day is already done. People from different departments, they are also closing the day, but the department is supposed to close at around 5 p.m. So I think I'll be like lucky. But so far so good. Everything is okay. I'm enjoying the breeze also. It is something that I'm just looking forward. It's just amazing, and later on I'll get to show you. That is to give you a tour over how everything actually looks right here.
And of course, many students have been affected by the COVID-19. Has learning resumed normally? Are people studying normally, or is there a lot of changes because of the COVID-19? Has the COVID-19 affected learning? These days, people have gone back to the ordinary kind of learning. Because last year,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you.
Mhm.
I hear you. I'm asking you about the impact of the COVID-19 on learning. Have you seen people are getting scared to go back to school because of the COVID-19, or are people going on with their school in ordinarily?
That is a very good question. Let me just give you my experience. When I entered the gate, the first thing that was done is that you get to be checked your temperature. You also get to sanitize your hands. Also, the wearing of a mask is mandatory. Actually, I'm just in an isolated place. Of course, no one can ask me because I'm in an isolated place. But if you get to continue working towards the department, you have to have your mask on because you cannot be attended to because you do not have your mask on. And in regards to the students, the number is not as high as I expected, considering that we do have freshers. We call them freshers. That is students who have recently joined the university at their first year. We also have final year students, but I can attest to the fact that the turnout is not quite so many. I believe most of the students have decided to rather study from their houses rather than to come to school because the number of the students that I'm seeing here is not quite that high. So I think that I can attest to the fact that the students are actually affected by the COVID-19.
And I know that some people do not really care much about the COVID-19 because they were already bored of staying at home. But nonetheless, this particular year, we realize that there are so many things that have changed because people were supposed to graduate last year. It did not
Yes.
happen. Others were supposed to complete their courses. It did not happen. And I was
Mhm.
just wondering, there was a question that has been running in my mind whether the university degrees are actually the way to tackle unemployment in Africa. I was wondering whether university degrees do have the answer to our problems because many African youth right now, they have actually
Mhm.
gotten their degrees, but are the
True.
university's degrees the way to address our problem with unemployment in Africa? I would just love to know, what are your thoughts? Do you think university degrees will help us as African eliminate unemployment in Africa?
Honestly, the answer is no, considering that I am one of the graduates, and I can
Yeah,
tell you that the Kenyan marketing job, or rather the Kenyan employment
market. Yeah,
industry, is
yeah.
quite competitive. Whether you
Mm,
have a degree, whether you have a diploma, you still need to have connections, for you to find your way there. And that is
mm,
why many people are resolving rather than going to universities, but getting that money and starting their own businesses. And I
mm,
can also tell you that. According to statistics, over 50,000 Kenyans have graduated. But
mm,
out of those 50,000, I can tell you that maybe even a
yeah.
thousand, only a thousand individuals
Will get
are
employed.
able,
Yeah.
exactly, a thousand or even less than that. So I can tell you that getting a degree at some point, it's not really working. I think a degree has been more like you getting exposure in your life rather than you getting employment. I've seen students who have even graduated back then in the year 2014,
Yeah.
2010,
Yeah.
2009. They are
Mm.
still unemployed, and this can tell you that the rate of unemployment in Kenya is quite so high. It is all about connections right now, and that is why many people are resolving to having their own jobs, that is starting their own different entrepreneurship that they can get to venture in.
And I agree with you because recently I saw at a very, very big queue of some Kenyan individuals who had been going out to looking for unemployment. And I happened to realize
Mhm.
they were just actually happened to be applying for a job from what I understand. And
Yes.
of course, I have seen even places where they have been advertised. They had been advertised, maybe perhaps two positions, and then the people who turn up at the interview are about maybe even 30 or maybe close to 100, and these are just three
Mhm.
positions that have been advertised for a job. And I agree with you because people might rely heavily on the degrees and rely on these other papers. They are not bad. It's not a bad thing to go to the university or go to
True.
to an institution of a higher learning and get some knowledge, because this knowledge you can be able to to impact it, to impact your community with it, or even start your own businesses, run your own
Mm.
different type of programs. But at the end of the day, I also get to understand there is a big challenge. People are coming from the universities, but they have not learned the technical, or they have not learned the technical skills. They do know theoretically,
True.
perhaps they can do this, they can do that. But when they go on the job and you tell them, okay, go ahead and do this, go ahead and do whatever you have got your degree for. What to an
Uh-huh.
element? I don't know what you would say about that as well.
That is absolutely correct. For example, you get to, they say that you get to have a lot of exposure. Not even they say, that is a
Yeah,
fact that I've come to witness, that
yeah,
if you are in a private university, you get more exposure. You get, the issue with equipment, for example, in the journalism industry,
uh,
the issue with equipment is not a challenge. But when
yeah,
it comes to a public university, let me tell you,
yeah,
equipments are rare, and if they are limited. Most of the time, you do not get to access them. That is
yeah,
quite becoming quite an issue. So you get to realize that when you are in a public university, you just get
yeah.
to gain the theoretical part. But when it comes to you being now on the field, it is something different. And that is why even during the attachment periods, people came back complaining that they need their school fees back, because the
Yeah.
exposure that they got outside was totally different from what was being taught in school. And this highly says that there is a lot that needs to be done in public universities, in technical universities, in ensuring that not only the learner gets to understand um, about the theory, but they also get to learn more in terms of that is outside theory. Because right now, they in terms of you getting jobs, they want to see what you can actually do on the field work, and this is where now people lack, of course, experience in that.
And I agree with you because when you come to think of it, there has been the matter of increasing the opportunities for young people to get some skills. This has to
True.
do with attachment.
Hmm.
Attachment. Others can go for internship and industry attachment, or also
Yes.
for internship. But the
Hmm.
problem is, you realize you go to some companies and you are looking for attachment, industry attachment, and they want
Hmm.
you to pay some money. They want you to pay some money for that, and therefore that, I believe,
True.
has limited many people from getting to access these opportunities for getting attachment, all internships. And I
Hmm.
do this is very, very critical because, like you said, you're having students who are coming from institutions of higher learning, but
Yeah.
they cannot be able to deliver on the job. And therefore, I do believe perhaps the government should put in place a system where it actually forces companies, not really forces, but actually
Hmm.
encourages companies to take up more people and put them on their program so that they can get to have the industrial, industrial attachment skills
True.
that are
Hmm.
required for the job market. Another thing I do believe is that there is also a very, very big kind of a negative thinking because many
Hmm.
people in Kenya, especially the young people, they do believe that they only have to be employed. You ask someone, "What do you want to do when you grow up, or what do you want to be?" And many people, of course, talk about jobs that are only jobs where you can be
True.
employed. Will tell you, "I want to go and I want to become a doctor." There's nothing wrong about becoming a doctor, but there's a
Hmm.
mentality where people have locked in their minds to only thinking that the only thing that can happen is getting employed. And we have come from that particular point where maybe earlier on in earlier days people used to think on how they can do their own things and become self-reliant. I don't know what needs to be
True.
done, perhaps, from your opinion, what needs to be done to make sure that we are shifting from that kind of a mentality where people think that you can only be employed, you cannot really go out and become self-employed, you cannot employ yourself. What do you think needs to be done to change that kind of a thinking or a mentality?
That is a very good question. But before I even get to answer you that, I
Yeah,
agree with you on the fact that we have that mentality that you just want to finish a campus, graduate, and get employment immediately. And I
yeah,
think the solution to that is to prepare the young minds that right now, even if we get to talk about employment, even if we get to say that the government needs to set jobs and so on, it
yeah,
cannot be able to set all these jobs, considering that we do have a lot of children, students, learners on a daily basis. So as much
yeah,
as they want to offer employment, it will mean that some people will have to be sacked and so on. So you
yeah,
have to go to university with that mentality that I am going there to get experience, such that
yeah,
when I'm out here and I have the resources, I have the finances, I can be able to thrive in this competitive market. The moment you've
yeah,
set your mind like that, then whether you get to have the opportunity to be employed or whether you do get to have the opportunity to employ yourself, then you'll be having an added advantage. So it is all about changing the mindset that after graduation it's all about employment. No, after graduation it is now upon you to put the skills that you learned in schools, in that is in school, into exercise. This is the time now to prove to people that you have obtained some knowledge from school, and you can be able to be your own entrepreneur and of course thrive well in that market as well.
I agree with you because I do believe also when parents are talking to their children, I would also like to
Hmm.
blame it on the parents, because
Mhm.
the parents, at the end of the day, they have not given the children the option, or the information to explore different opportunities. What the
True.
parents need to tell you is that this and that will happen. I understand there's some kids playing and they want to get home. They're eager to get home at the back,
Yeah,
which is
actually, yes, in this particular university, we do have the JQuat higher learning, of course, section. We also do have the primary level. That's why you can hear young kids. Of course, there's actually a primary school in this university. We do have a primary school. We also do have an international university. Same, just the same compound. So it's just some little bit of a mix-up. But I think they are excited with this. Do I call it a statue? But it is more like a statue
Can we see a bit
representing
of the statue? Or you're busy. You can show us a little bit of
uh,
the statue if
you
we
know,
can see it.
the fact is that my camera just, I think you can see, that is what they
Oh,
are playing with.
that is,
It's
I
more
think
like,
that's a statue that shows the logo of the university, the Jomo Kenyatta
yeah,
International. It's called the Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology, or what do they call it?
of the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. But you're right, it's more like a science university, but they have included other departments as well. Departments like mass communication, nursing, yeah.
Yeah. Can you also see, maybe perhaps you can also tilt the camera for the family to see the other side. Mr. True, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You were saying peace, family, peace to you too. Is there a department, near? I can see the buildings. I want to see some of the buildings so that we can know if you're
Actually,
learning, if
oh,
you're learning
actually,
under.
I'm nearby the gate. That's why you can even see vehicles moving.
Yeah,
I'm nearby the gate.
yeah.
Uh, for me to walk to the department, it's almost 800 meters to the department. It is that
Oh,
far.
oh,
But
okay,
of
I
course,
understand.
but later on, as I'll get to go live on the other channel, I'll get, of
Yeah,
course, to show you the departments, because we do have a lot of departments. Departments for communications,
yeah,
department for science. There's just a
yeah.
lot of departments that have been built here.
Okay, thank you. I think we are seeing a little bit of that, and we shall let you go in a few minutes. But before then, I wanted to ask you a question
Okay.
regarding some of the ways in
Mm-hmm.
which you think, we as a nation can tackle the problem of unemployment. For me, I do believe that, the government has to be involved and the private sector has to be involved. If we do have a
Mm-hmm.
collaboration between the private sector and the government, then that creates a kind of a collaboration where we can now start seeing our programs where we are seeing more people even getting involved. Have you seen in your locality or in your neighborhood? Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen the kazi mitani? Is it called kazi mitani? Have you seen
Yeah,
people
the
getting
kazi kwa vijana.
yeah kazi
Absolutely correct.
kazi
Absolutely correct.
go on.
Yes, I've seen youths, moving about with slashers, pangas, fork jembes, trying to clear. It's all about cleaning around Kenya. And I've seen them, and I believe they are paid some money at the end of the day. But there has been some allegations that at some point they get to work for almost 2 weeks, and they do not get to receive their salary. Which I can say, of course, the issue with embezzlement of funds is so on the rise. But then again, you have to do what you gotta do to put that bread on the table. So yes, I've seen that. That is actually one way of making sure that the youths get to have some activity that will keep them going. But in regards to the question that you have asked me earlier on, I think
Mm.
the way forward here, we should not even blame the government. This is something that starts with you as an individual. You should come about with that mindset that what do I want? I mean, where do I want to be in the next future? Or what am I doing in regards to that or towards to that? And right now, I think the government has played just a tiny role there by coming about, that is by giving loans to students. You can't get actually to go and acquire a loan in the bank and set up um, any business that you do want to set about in regards of how small you might have taken from the bank. I think that is also an alternative. The government has played that role. But also, I just want to insist on the fact that it is all about you as an individual. And for those individuals, or rather children who are coming from well-off families, it is not
Yeah.
hard for them because they can get the finance. But let's take a look at the common mwananchi who does not come from a well-off family. I think you can get to apply for a loan to the government, but if
Mm.
that one does not work, because we've had the issue with corruption also, you can come about with there's a lot of activities. You can try farming, you can try just smaller business enterprises, and trust me, eventually they'll get you get to reap the fruits. The issue is that people want white collar jobs, or rather, people feel like if they work in an office, that is when they
mm,
get to be respected. But
mm,
if you just believe in that small enterprise that you can come about it, then trust
mm,
me, they say that today is not the same as tomorrow. You start somewhere, you eventually get to grow. I've seen people starting maybe the chicken business, the rearing of a chicken. Eventually, they've started with one bird, and right now they can attest to 200 birds and more. And of course, that means actually that it is a profit for you. So it's all about how you set your mind, and you being positive there. That is the solution to that.
And I also think that there is another bigger challenge when it comes something that you mentioned, which has to do with the access to finance. Many people
Yeah,
say that creating employment for yourself by starting your own small business is very very expensive. But I do believe people are reluctant to start their own businesses because they believe that they have to start at the top. No one wants to
true.
start small. No one wants to start with a poultry rearing a project. No one wants to start with all these
Yeah.
small. Everyone wants to start with a big company, and that is why we are going wrong as the African youth. There's also another important matter where we have seen many African youth trying to run away from farming. If you're talking about telling someone to get into agriculture or agribusiness, no one wants to get into that. Everyone wants to move to the city, get a blue collar job or a white collar job or whatever they call those collar jobs. And then from there, they want to make a big business. And you cannot just start from the top. At the end of the day, you just have to start thinking differently as the African youth. This is the Express Show on
True.
the Black Hot Network. And now, of course, my name is Specs, and I'll be all with coming. She is at the Jomo Kenyatta International. I almost said at the airport. I don't know what's happening exactly.
Bless me.
It's a Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and it's actually
True.
one of the biggest universities in Eastern and Central Africa, followed by the likes of
Absolutely.
Nairobi University, Kenyatta University, among other top notable universities in Kenya. But nonetheless, as we were having a conversation, I was also thinking to myself, some people also do not want to work in, they're called mini jobs that are not considered to be top, are not considered to be
Exactly.
very, very pleasant. Some people not want to even become touts or to become anything. And that also I want to blame it on the teachers because once we were in school, when we were in school, someone was actually saying that you should study very hard not to do that kind of a job. You should study very hard not to
True.
go to that kind of a job. And all these other jobs have been demonized, and therefore you realize that people are also choosy, very, very choosy, especially the African youth. They are very choosy
True.
with jobs.
That is indeed correct, and you're just making my day. You're right. Back then, growing up in school, the teacher used to give examples that if you become last in your class, then you're going to become a tot, then you're going to sell tomatoes in the market, then you're going,
Yeah,
all these farming jobs, on these just let me use the word minimal jobs.
yeah,
And
many jobs.
as a result there is that brainwash towards it. But let me tell
Mm,
you, they say in Swahili, kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba, that you
yes.
start somewhere. Even let me tell you, do you know actually tots, they are paid, let's say for a month, they get actually some good money, because
Mm,
if you are that type of a tot who gets to feel the matatu, then the driver gets to proceed with them main thought, you actually
yeah.
get to have even 1,000 bob a day. That is even $10 a day if you are lucky. But on bad days, you can even have maybe you can have not only $10, you can have even maybe 500 sorry, $500, no, $500, you can actually
It's
have
50,
$3.
50,
You
50,
can actually have
$50.
three
Yeah,
dollars I was saying 500 Kenyan
50,
shillings. You can have something
that's right. Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Exactly. So, which means that you actually get to have money compared to that person who's just sitting at home and looking down upon you. So, they say in Swahili ni jasho yako, unajua, the type of effort you put, that is how you're gonna get money. Even in the markets right now, we do have the greenhouses right now. You can get to have your products from there and get to sell it to the people. Actually, if you get your products from the rural places and bring it to the town, you
yeah,
are having a lot of money. So start with that a small thing, and perhaps you have a scene in your area that right now people actually sell vegetables on trucks. You can sell it on a truck, you can sell it on a hand cart.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, they say the dirty jobs are paid the most. At the end of the day, you still are not going to sleep hungry.
I have seen some people talking about, talking about they cannot get involved in starting a car wash business because they think that is a business that is done by people who do not have class, who do not have money.
No.
And we are the same people in Africa choosing jobs and talking about Africa is poor because we do not have, jobs. People are
Yeah.
living in poverty because you don't have jobs. We have talked about even selling in the market. If you saw someone selling in the market and maybe you are in the same school with them, you actually say they have failed in life, and perhaps maybe they're even making more money than you are making wherever you might be at in a blue collar job or in a white collar
True.
job, which is actually the wrong kind of a thinking that we do have in Africa, based on choosing jobs. Wanasema mchagua jembe si mkulima. That is one of the
Kabisa.
method. That is one of the medali by the people are from our coast, or the Swahili people, who do say that if you want to get into something, please do not go choosing jobs. Please do not go saying bad, talking bad mouthing some particular individuals because they're involved in different kinds of jobs. And also about the issue to access with funds, I was saying that the government should also focus on making it much easier for young people to be able to access some funds to be able to start up businesses. You remember there was a time the government had started a program where they were giving about, they were giving some loans. They were giving some loans to groups of people, but
Yes.
it became a problem because some individuals, you were told to have a group of 10 people, and then you can go apply for a small loan, and then these particular 10 people will be your guarantors. They can guarantee that you return this particular money. But
True.
at the end of the day, it did not work. I think the system failed to work, and also the money was embezzled. You remember? I don't know if you remember that particular one.
Yeah, I think there was a time that one did get to happen. You know, in Kenya, we do have the issue with corruption. That as much as the government will set aside some funds, before it gets to reach the common mwananchi, the amount
Yeah.
of money that would have been taxed by this, by the one in charge, is quite a lot of money. So you come to realize that even the money you're getting is peanuts. You cannot even start a good business with it. Maybe you had some business in mind, maybe of getting stock from somewhere. You cannot even be able to have to get half of the stock. So of course the issue with corruption is quite happening here. We also do have the government coming about with the help loans. I believe you heard about that, but
Yeah.
now it has reached a point that this help loan is supposed to be paid after you're done with school and perhaps you're working. But if you remember, there was a time the government was going even gazetting the names of these individuals who have these loans, which is quite an
Unfortunately.
embarrassment. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they even went ahead and increased the attacks on these help loans and decrease the help loans. So you can see it does not get to benefit the students at all.
But I'm just wondering now, where do we go? Because the solution has to be found amongst our people. Because at the end of the day, you
True.
realize that there are some people who are taking advantage of the fact that people are not able to access funds. You have seen about the mobile loans. You're
Mm-hmm.
given a small loan as a youth, and then the rates of the interest rates are very, very high. And these are actually known as they're similar to loan sharks. People who
True.
want to benefit from the fact that you do not have money, and then they give you some money, and then they have to make you pay about 3 or 4 times the amount of money that they
Mm-hmm.
give you. Perhaps someone just gave you $20, and when you're paying that back money, the interest is so high that you have to pay
True.
about $80 or even $100. That means you cannot start any kind of a profitable business with these loans like this, because they
Mm-hmm.
are kind of let me call them predatory. They are predatory. They are like
True.
predators who want to attract you with small money, and then try raise your credit score, and then from that they want to make the most from the little that you have. But nonetheless, we are discussing about the matter of the universities, and of course employment, or the lack of employment right here. And now you
Mm-hmm.
are asking ourselves, are college degrees the answer to African unemployment? Are college degrees the answer to African unemployment? Because what you realize is that many people have the degrees, many people have the skills, but then again, we are still not getting to a position where we do have the important, the important factor of, or decreasing the rate of unemployment. And now, when you're talking about unemployment, I do believe also this has to do with the nature of the African structure, economic structure. You do find that in Africa, we do not have many manufacturing plants. We do not
True.
have many processing plants. What we do have in Africa is an over dependence on agriculture, and therefore agriculture cannot get to employ everyone. Not everyone owns a shamba. But if the government was to start factories, we do have lots of minerals maybe that can even be processed. Start these factories
Yeah,
and have
true.
and have, become, trying to move into to becoming an industrialized country. That is what we should be focusing on, and maybe from that particular point we can be able to really try and find more jobs for our people. I don't know what you think on the same. Can you have also maybe what other sectors maybe can you try and improve on in terms of the economy to see that more people get able to be employed in?
True.
I don't know if
You
you
are
got
abs-
that. Yeah,
yes,
go
you
on.
are. Pardon?
Go on, go on.
Yes, I'm saying you are a particular. You are of course okay. I'm just just taking a look at. I'm seeing just someone from my department, but it's all good. You are absolutely correct to talk about that. But I think as much as you said, as much as people want to venture into maybe agriculture and so on, in terms of employment, in terms of you being able to put bread on the table, it
Yeah.
depends on how sharp you are. The sharper you are, the more of course you are able to penetrate that market. The sharper you are, of course, the better you are, of course, to be able to penetrate in that market, which is all about the skills, which is all about how creative you are. For example, you've seen that people get to set up businesses that resemble, someone is selling tomatoes here, the other
They
one is
want to
selling
copy.
tomatoes.
They want to copy.
Yes, they want to copy it, but you get to come about with something that the customer will take a look at and be like, I'm going to buy from that person, and not going to buy to this particular one. So it's all about how smart you have to be.
And I also want to ask you about the problem of nepotism, because people only employ people from their communities or even people from their families. I believe you have heard stories like that where a student tells you, I was employed to that company because my uncle works there or because I am from that particular tribe. And this is a very, very big problem, because if you can only be employed because you come from a certain tribe or because you come from a certain family, then what happens to people who are not related to you? At the end of the day, they might even be able to perform better on the job. But now, because of nepotism and favoritism, you find that some particular people are favored in a particular kind of a workforce. For example, I don't know if you realized in the times when
Yes.
you did have President Moi, over the period of President Moi, who was
Yes.
Kenya's second president, he was from the Kalenjin community. And you realize that in the army and in the police, almost all the officers that were in the police and in the army, most of them were actually coming from the Kalenjin community. And you realize that the problem is, there have been many different there have been so many different situations like that, not just in the army and not just in the police force, but you get to realize that people eventually only get to be employed if they are coming from a particular kind of a community. I was talking about the Kalenjins, and that is
Yes.
even the accent. If a police is talking to you, most of the police talk in the Kalenjin accent. I don't know if you have experienced
True.
the same from where you come
That
from.
is that is absolutely correct. We do have that issue that during Moi's era it was very rampant. Even until now, I've seen actually right now if you get to go to the department, you get to realize there is a certain type of a tribe. I do not want to mention that, but get to realize that they are the most employed. So the issue with nepotism is also on the rise. That
Yeah,
people get to favor people from their own tribe. Let me tell you, we did have our fellow classmates from, of course, when I was studying, and
yeah,
right now they got to get employment, not to a course that they did. For example, we've done mass communication, and this girl is
yeah,
working in a that is in a wines and spirits company, which
yeah.
actually tells you that she got a job that she didn't study for, just because the dad has links there, so she got to have that opportunity, which means that someone who went to the same university and studied something similar to her will have to
Yeah.
miss that job because she has to have that job. So the issue with nepotism and favorism, because we're coming from one tribe, we're coming from one village, it is on the rise. During Moi's regime, it was very rampant and true till now. I even grew up thinking that for you to become a police officer, you have to be a Kalenjin, because that was how Moi had set had set, of course, the standard that even right now, a lot of police officers are Kalenjin. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that Moi introduced, and now people are still copying.
What even happens, even if you are a Kamba in the police force, some Kambas will try to fake the talents in accent so that you can think that they have power, because it was
Hmm.
like they were put there by the president coming from his tribe to go on and intimidate people. But nonetheless, we are discussing about the matter of unemployment and perhaps how we can get to sort out unemployment, simply because we have been having the challenge. We have been having a challenge, and this particular challenge pertains to the matter of our people not finding jobs on the African continent. It's not just in Kenya, it's not just in
True.
South Africa. I believe in some places it's worse than others. I believe in South Africa the level of unemployment was really, really high as well as the
True.
different places. One of the four things that we can do is really also focus on industrializing the African continent. Making our economies are more industrialized, and that is one of the things you can do. And also, I do believe the diaspora also has a role to play. When it comes to just creating jobs on the continent, we do have a lot of labor. We do have a lot of potential in the labor force because about over 60% of Africa's population constitutes of young people. The labor is a bit cheap. If you want to set up a company and you're thinking perhaps the company needs labor, you can decide that you want to set up your company right here on the continent of Africa. And this goes out to the diaspora. You might be coming from Nigeria, and right now you are actually based in the diaspora, or you might be even a Kenyan, but right now you are based in the diaspora, and you're considering starting a job. I believe also if you set up jobs right here on the continent, maybe in Uganda, maybe in Rwanda, maybe in Tanzania, I believe if you did, it would be a much better thing for anyone to be able to invest in the continent, repatriate, put that
True.
money, put that dollar right here on the continent. And I believe also the
And
government should go on.
yeah, and I just want to comment on a particular point you've said. That is why you see that most children, actually, rather most students, when they're done in school, they rather go and look for opportunity elsewhere, that is outside their own country, because they believe that in Africa there isn't there is employment, because the government has ensured that. It does not invest much in the country. That's why people rather go to the US, to United Arab Emirates, to just seek employment there, because there they believe they have better opportunities than home. That is why we're saying that people are even entering into getting themselves actually in situations that they have never wished to be. Take a look at domestic workers, what they are going through. Some of them, they do have horror stories to tell you. Some of them, they are degree honors, they finished school, certificate honors, different just certificates awarded to them, but their own country cannot of course appreciate what they did in school, and as a result they rather seek greener pastures outside their own country, and as a result you've seen how worse it has turned for some of them.
And I agree because if you're talking about domestic workers, especially those that have gone to Saudi and others have gone to places like Qatar, you realize that at the end of the day, these particular individuals are sort of put to work like they are slaves. You actually realize that they are working from those particular places, but it's like they are slaves. Sister Michelle, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We trust that you are doing well, and we are delighted that you have joined us on the Express Show on the Black Hot Fire Network. We are discussing about the issue of higher learning, and Akami is live from the university, which is known as the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, or JKUAT, which is one of the best universities across the continent. But I also do believe another thing is also failing, because when it comes to also, creating an environment, creating an enabling environment for foreign investors to also come in and also put in some investment. I believe the government also has a very, very big role when it comes to that. But some of the things to do with, some of the things to do with unemployment are also not even linked to the education, because, like I said earlier, you realize
True.
that in Africa we do have a lot of high population of people that are educated. They do have the degrees, they do have the masters, they do have everything else. But when it comes to the opportunities, these opportunities are not there, and this also results to a brain tapping. Can I call it brain tapping? It's called what do you call it? There's a situation where people come and poach. It's called poaching, where we do have talent poaching. We do have the best brains from Africa being poached and are being given jobs in Europe and other different places that you do find things happening in that particular kind of regard. But nonetheless, I also do believe that the government has a responsibility, because what happens is the cycle of unemployment continues, poverty also continues, and the youth starts getting desperate. They get into things like drugs, they get into things like crime. And when someone gets into crime, that when the youth gets into crime, what happens eventually is that your life is over, because you might actually get shot, or you might actually happen to end your life, or end up in prison, wasting more than a half of your life, in which you would have been involved in a productive engagement of other things. But nonetheless, I was just saying that in sub-Saharan Africa, there has been the employment rate which hovers over 12%, and this is lower than the global unemployment rate over 12.4. 12.4. The African region has the world's highest rate of working poverty, people who are employed but just earning less than $2 a day. I didn't realize. I've just come to see. I didn't realize there was something known as working poverty. Yes, you are employed, but you are earning less than $2 a day. I just came to
Mm-hmm.
realize that there is something known as working poverty. And Africa has been said to be the country with the highest. Yeah, that's a brain drain. Yes, I was calling it a brain tapping. It's brain drain, but we do have the best of the African people really getting taken from the continent and now working for other people and then getting no credit. But I was saying, I happen to realize that Africa is one of the continents that has the highest work in poverty. Yes, you are working. You have been working the whole day, but you're getting less than $1. You know, you have been working maybe from 8 in the morning to around maybe 4 in the after 4 in the evening. But then again, you're
True.
getting less than $2 a day, which is what is happening. Mr. Truth, you're saying we must build a bridge or improve relationships with the continental Africans and the ones in the diaspora, so that we can do business together without worrying about being scammed. Yes, the matter of trust is very, very important. You cannot do business, or you cannot even go invest your money in a place where you do not have trust with anyone. And I agree with you, Mr. Truth. Once we are able to get past that particular kind of a gap, or once we are able to get past that particular challenge, then I believe we might be able to get somewhere. And I was saying that despite being Africa's most educated generation to emerge from schools and universities, a youth in Africa is twice as likely to be unemployed when he or she becomes an adult, according to the International Labor Organization. It says here in Africa, we have this idea that if I am learning, I am supposed to work in the future. Say the 22-year-old Mamadou Dien, an English major at the University of Dakar, wants to become a translator. But instead, we only have a small number of them who are employed. That is a real problem. I think also the mindset is actually a very, very
Absolutely.
big thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. You are definitely correct. The issue with it's more like a brainwash that people get to believe that after achieving a certain level of education, they are expecting more. So the level of also expectation is on the rise. And when someone becomes, when they do not get what they want, that is when they become disappointed. That's now when you get to see the rates of suicide. That's when you get to see now the rates of theft being on the rise, because they want maybe to satisfy. As you grow up, you have someone you're looking onto. Your family is also looking up to you. They are expecting more from you. That is why you get to see that people even now get to venture into the world of crime to just satisfy people out there. But then again, if we come about with this, building it from home, starting it from home, they say that for you to move forward, you have to start with within your that is within your own locality. And if we start from our own locality, if we get to give people that motivation, then I believe we'll be having more youth to have that entrepreneurial mind, more than this youth to depend on being employed. Just that is on working on someone's farm. So if you get to create that a platform whereby people get to believe on themselves, then I think we will go far, because you'll be given that platform to get to express yourself more in these competitive markets.
And thank you so much. This is the Express Show on the Black Fire Network. And of course, with the problem is because we are non-manufacturers. I agree with you, Kate. And there's also something else that I was asking a question earlier on whether university degrees are the answers to Africa's unemployment. And Nakami has answered no. I also believe it's not. I want to share with us one Kenyan innovator. He is actually a very, very young guy. He's actually a very, very young guy. And what happened is that he is a Kenyan innovator. He has not gone to the university. He has not attended any university, and he has also not done. He has also not done. He has also not been involved with. He has also not been involved with. He has not been involved with the university. But this is what happened. Let me share with us a story of that young Kenyan innovator who has been involved with discovering or making his own robotics arm. And this robotics arm is meant to help the people who are with disabilities. It's supposed to help people who are with disabilities. And this is a Kenyan inventor who created a bio-robotic arm controlled by the brain
Wow.
signals controlled by the brain signals. This is the Kenyan inventor who has created a biorobotic arm controlled by the brain signals. And of course, it would look like a science fiction film, but his robotic arm could be said to change the real lives of disabled people in Kenya. It was invented by David Agadu and Moses Kenyo and is powered by brain signals. The signals are converted into an electric current by a neurocode, a biopotential headset receiver. This electrical current is then driven to the robot's circuitry, which gives the arms the mobility. The arms has several component materials, including recycled wood, moves vertically and horizontally. I believe if this young individual does have the right kind of a support, I do believe if an
Mm-hmm.
individual have the right kind of a support, then maybe he can be able to create even these robotics and help the
Sure.
disabled people in Kenya. Let me share the video. Let me share the video real quick, and then we shall continue with the conversation right here on the Express Show with the Black Hot Fire Network. This is the story. This is a Kenyan innovator.
It's a God-given talent. So whenever we see a problem, we try to solve it practically.
Warning, please give way. Testing the flow of the bio-robotic hand. System under self-testing.
They say they needed no classroom to hone their God-given talent.
We didn't continue to university due to financial constraints. As you all know, the birds of the same feathers flock together. We combined our efforts and started solving the challenges facing the community. Either in energy security, we are diverse.
Their main aim being to help persons living with disability in the society.
System under self-testing. Testing the chest interface devices. 1. Phone call connections. Check.
1 million people living without an app or an leg in Kenya. So that's when we started discussing and we went to the political forum about it on how can we help them in aiding their mobility, in aiding their day-to-day activities.
These problems come up with this project arm that receives commands from the brain just by the user thinking of what they want the arm to do.
The arm that we have is a prosthetic arm, which the way you think when we have a BCI gadget that you put in your head. So the way you think.
The family that a senior Zealous robots have found material from discarded toys.
I got a question, Spike.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I got a question. What that's showing? What that's showing? Good morning, Cammy, and good morning, Spike. What's that showing?
Good morning to you too.
What that's showing is innovation. And Cammy, please put your thing on landscape. Beautiful. Your video was good yesterday. It just wasn't on landscape. You was upside down.
On the next one that I'm about to do, I'll put it on landscape.
Yeah. I'm gonna start doing this more often. Have you out in the field? I like this with you and Spike, and then also have Spikes out there too. Get Spikes out the office. The problem with this, Spike, is that how much is it costing him to develop it? And it's behind, Spike. That thing is like 20 years. I mean, can you utilize it in Africa? Because he's 20 years behind, Spike. That technology he's doing, sadly enough for Africans, like you said, brain drain. The Africans who have left the continent have made real robots, Spike. Not that shit. I just said, not that. That shit's like 20, 30 years old. Like, pull up a video. Pull up a YouTube video. Say Boston Dynamics. Say video.
Sorry?
Go to YouTube and say Boston Dynamics robot. Go to YouTube and type in Boston Dynamics robot. Boston Dynamics. And look at the robots there. These robots talk, walk. It ain't. He's 30 years behind. That's the problem with, like you're saying, with Africa, the brain drain. That's already outdated. It's outdated what he's doing. It's a joke.
I remember.
It's not applicable. No, go ahead, Mike.
I remember there was also some Ghanaians that were trying to make a robotics that could go into war, but I think it is also I think it's out of it's very behind.
They're behind too. They're behind too. Yeah, it became a joke. But they're more advanced than this young boy, and they're behind. But don't think that you don't got Africans involved. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Spike. Let me say this first.
Let me get a little bit of this, then play the other one for.
Don't think that you don't got Africans involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hold on, Spike. Let me say this. Don't think that you don't got Africans involved in building these robots in the West, like you said, brain drain.
Yeah.
What he's doing now is 30 years out of date. Go ahead, play it,
Children bubbles of
and you'll
heroes
see it's out of date what he's doing.
where the
So it's
magic
non-applicable.
happens. A little village in the southern highlands of Kenya. Zilla's robots are made from farm material, from discarded toys to electronics.
I started back in primary school where I used to make little things, electronics like radios, phones. Back then, in the society, we used to bring these radios and I used to repair them.
Zilla is just 21 years old. He finished high school 3 years ago, but despite his talent, he couldn't afford to go to university. Instead, he set up his workshop to pursue his passion for technology. He has several projects going on at the same time, many of them as yet unfinished. Zilla has built 3 robots so far, each with a different function.
The little one is called robot peg. Basically, I made it when I thought of how people are struggling, maybe cutting pegs and the others even cutting them using their mouth. So I thought of why can't I make something that will be cutting the pegs or when maybe you are washing clothes or doing other things.
Here we have up.
Let me also share Boston Dynamics.
Yeah, go to Boston Dynamics. See, what he's doing is non-applicable because it's so outdated. He's too far behind. The technology is 30 years old, unapplicable in today's society. And what you're seeing in Boston Dynamics is actually old. They keep what they really know. Like what this shit that they're showing you with Boston Dynamics is really 30 years old. So that kid is like 50, 60 years old. I want you to understand this. I want you to understand how the real world works. What you're saying with Boston Dynamics is probably 30-year-old technology that they're going to now release to the people. That kid is like 50 years old. The elite keep the shit behind, keep at least 30, 40 years behind them. That's what you got to understand. So one of these Boston Dynamic robots, like they think this kid's got a chance in the world. Nobody's gonna buy the shit he's producing.
I'm saying when these give us a strike, the Boston Dynamics is a big channel. They might cancel the video. They might cancel the video. Or should I put a copyright? I think I should also put a copyright caveat first.
No. I'm not gonna do that because no. Yeah. Put a copyright thing and show. Yeah. Put the copyright thing up and then go ahead and share.
Yeah, let's try to block these because I see it's a very big company. Michelle says,
we're not doing a documentary. We're just showing one of the videos.
Sister Michelle says, my son is studying agricultural and management. That's a good one because we have been trying to have Africans, young African youth to get back into agriculture, and people are just playing around. And even in the government of Nigeria is trying to get back into agriculture. Let me share these.
You got to get back in agriculture. What Cameron said was African people. Who gives a fuck about being a doctor and a lawyer? You can't feed yourself. African people are starving. You got the most arable land. The money's gonna be in farming, not you being a goofy doctor. So you learn that the money's gonna be in farming. That's why I said me and Spice we gotta get some land in Kenya and start agriculture. The money's gonna be in agriculture, not being some goofy doctor. The money's gonna be in agriculture, family, because the world's farmland is getting worse. So Africa's gonna have all the farmland like it's always had. The money's gonna be in agriculture, not you being a goofy doctor. But since the African mind is messed up, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. No, stupid. You want to be a farmer because you got the most arable land. The world's going to need your products to eat. You're going to have to get these white people off the land. And you know what's more precious than oil? Water. Who has the best water on the planet still? Africa. So you better get some land. You better get control of some damn water. Because with global warming, these other people are going to come into Africa for food and water. They're not going to give a fuck about, hey, I need a doctor. I'm hungry. I don't need no damn doctor. I'm thirsty. So you better understand this. The African mind is like always like 30, 40 years behind. Blows my mind. I know we were colonized, but Jesus Christ, can we learn to think?
But
Go ahead,
there's
yeah,
also
yeah. Thanks.
there's also
Let's show these robots. His robots are novel. They're not gonna be able to do anything like toys or something. You got these robots that are dogs, open up doors, come jump out of buildings and shoot the shit out your ass.
And I think also there is a problem with I think there is also a problem with investment in the investment in research, and also support. There is also support is lacking when it comes to research.
Of course, that has to come from the government. Exactly, Mike. Research and development. Exactly right. The African nations have been told by the puppet masters, Spike, not to research and develop, because that's a threat to white power. It's a threat to white supremacy. You got the minds in Africa, but you don't got the money behind it. So you get goofy kids like this. So you got goofy kids like this. Oh, this is inspirational. It ain't. He's 50 years behind. It's not inspirational. If you had research and development money, you would have all the technology because you got the African mind that's there. So
absolutely.
So that's why you have brain drain. They go to Europe and they go to Europe and America and China and build this shit for the enemy. Yeah, now show one of these damn videos. Now what these robots do. That kid's robot is 50 years behind. Obsolete. Yeah, go ahead, Spike. I don't even think that's one of the new ones. That's one of the old videos there.
Ooh.
They more advanced than this. I think you got one of the old ones, Spike. You got them jumping out of windows with rifles and shooting and shit.
I think with the inventions is more like these sci-fi movies that end up terrorizing the world, or that end up, of course, what is this word? I'm trying to look for a word. These sci-fi movies that get up to realize that it is the end of the world all of a sudden, because they get to control everything now.
It sounds. And there was a video shared that sometimes back. This is one of them.
Are you talking about apocalypse? An apocalypse movie?
Yeah, that is the word.
There was a video I shared. There was a video shared last week. Was it not
so
last week?
These robots. Yeah. So that makes the kids, and depending on the price, they're going to be able to make it cheaper. So the kid's invention is noble, but it's 50 years behind, so it's obsolete. His technology is obsolete, right? Who's going to buy the shit? Nobody. It's obsolete. It's goofy shit. Get guns, shooting people, jumping out of parachuting out of planes. But don't believe there's not some African minds that are not behind that.
I'm saying there is also the big challenge. I'm also saying there is a big challenge because we are talking about unemployment, but the process with automation and the making of these robots, it actually also renders many people unemployed. There is an advantage to automation.
That's exactly right, Mike. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt America. Like I told you, even as I said in my show Saturday, I talked about the truck driving business. I said all the people driving trucks are gonna be out of work because I showed a video. It got more advanced. I showed where they had a truck in San Diego drive all the way across the United States from San Diego to Jacksonville, Florida by itself, right? That was just on one highway, I-10 is straight across. But then I went back and looked again in 2019. They had a damn truck. They had a truck leave. San Diego and drove all the way to Philadelphia. That's going across the country, zigzagging all the way up across shit. It went to Philadelphia, one of the hardest cities to drive in. A major city. Drive inside the city, back up to the damn dock and unload and let them unload it.
Mm.
was 2019. I was like, Jesus Christ, we're in 2021.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming. But
I see.
agriculture, family, you better get into agriculture right now because they're gonna have unless you learn how to unless you have to go back to real medicine. The fact is the world has used Rockefeller medicine, which actually kills you, doesn't cure anything. What cured people was African medicine. The Africans made cures, but the African is scared of his medicine. As Spike said, oh, in Kenya, you no good sorcerer. It's against my Jesus and my Allah. You're a sorcerer, Spike.
That is the problem with you. I see from what you said earlier, the self-driving. I see Microsoft has partnered with Volkswagen. They're trying to develop the self-driving car software. You just get the software from Microsoft, and you can do your own.
They already got it, Spike. They already got it, Spike. They already got the self-driving.
Yeah, I've seen.
I was there in a truck, which is harder. A truck goes in the city. Go ahead, Cammy.
No, I'm just saying, yes, I've seen the self driving, that is the car driving itself. I think I've seen such inventions in China recently. I think it was last year, something like that, but I've seen them. Yes, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, you seen it, but it didn't come from China. China just steals it and then builds it. China steals it and builds it. But it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. It's going to get cheaper and cheaper, but they can put it out here. The only thing for African people to do, hate to say it, thank God the youth minded Africans have to go back to the spirituality, the energy. You know how to make energy from nothing, as you did in Kemet and in Nubia. You lost that technology because you go to sleep, but you're going to have to learn how to make 0-point energy. Because everything that you see in empty space is energy, all of it. You're going to have to learn how to develop it again. You can only do that with an African mind because you think holistically. The white man thinks linear, the Asian man thinks linear, the East Indian man thinks linear. You as an African thinks 360 degrees. You think holistically. That's why you're a better problem solver. That's why you're a better thinker. No one can outthink the African mind. But the African mind has been made scared, weak. He doesn't trust himself. He believes in other people are better than him. So you can't think you believe everybody's better than you. African mind has been captured because of slavery and colonialism. So the African mind gets out of being scared and putting everybody on a pedestal. His mind will never get back to being an African again. There's a reason why the math came from you, the sciences came from you. There's a reason why everything came from you. And there's a reason now that everything doesn't come from you, because your mind has been fractured. Everything used to come from the African, that everything now doesn't come from the African. That means your mind has been fractured. Okay? Your mind's been fractured. So until you get that back, and like I said, everything with the African starts with his mind. You must get the African mind back. Unless you get the African mind back, Africa will always be on the bottom. African mind of self-love, self-understanding, self-perseverance. You got to get that. We got to get that back. Because without the African mind, you can't create nothing. Because you look to other people for your solution. You look to others. Go ahead, Spike.
No, I'm saying I agree with you. I agree with you because there has been a lot of self-doubt, with our people. There has been a lot of self-doubt. And if you tell someone Africans do have the innovative and the creative spirit in them to be able to, make all these other things, innovations and everything else, people will just look at you and I think that maybe you are actually confused, or it's only the other people from other continents that can be able to create anything. And of course, award having.
So you have exactly. You have a self-esteem. The African mind has been captured and then fractured. You have the African suffer from what? A self-esteem image. Your history's been taken. So remember, Spike, we were doing yesterday's show and they wanted to get rid of African history, We don't want to know no black history. Your history is a threat. It's funny. Every time you just doing your history, like American English, we don't want this shit in our schools. We don't want it because your history precedes everybody. They don't want to know that. They don't want African history. Get this shit out of here because your history is a threat. It starts what? Recapturing your mind. And the African, see, my mind was split too, Spike. Until I started know African history, know who I was. So I was an unapologetic Negro peon. Like I had to go through a 7-step program. I had to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm an unapologetic Negro peon. I'm here to seek help.
I think what happens. What happens is that there is a lot of like you said, self-doubt, which actually has people confused, and this has been planted in our minds by the system that we of course do study under the education system that we do have. And of course, let me get some comments from the family. We are almost
close to terrible.
Get a comment. Let me get some comments from the family. I see. Mr. Truth says McDonald's will never give away its secret sauce or recipe. And you say now that's right. Stanchel says that's right, brother. And spot on, brother Kid. Food crisis is real, and it will actually even be much worse with the population growing. And therefore, I do believe more people should be focused on looking at how they can get involved with food production to boost food security worldwide. But I also think that there shall also be the labeling of is it copyrights? Yeah, not really copyrights, but putting copywriting some of the seeds, not really copywriting them, but putting some licenses because people cannot be able to use these particular seeds at in different places. That might also happen because you saw in India recently they were trying to make sure that the corporations have their actual control over the sector of food security. That is what they were trying to do in India, and people are going out and striking against that. But a lot more is coming. Mr. Wood says Atlanta have police and security robots that does patrol in certain areas and different neighborhoods. And yes, that is, I believe, what is also coming up next. I believe in the near future, we shall also have a particular kind of policing where we do see robots being used in security. I think Kami shall be going live on the precinct. She shall be showing us around the department. And Kami, I think if you're able to, kindly also show us a little bit of the university. Show us a little bit of the university when you are able to.
Share some of your university before you go by yourself. Yeah, share some university where they train these young minds to be young bright slaves to white people. Go ahead.
Okay, let me do that on the Prism because on this particular platform it is not giving me that option of like sharing. That is the back camera.
All right, well,
okay.
All right. Okay. Also, Spike, when we get Cammy back in the studio, we'll set up her Prism. You're right. It does go to 2. We better put her on both YouTube channels. Stream the both of them at the same time. So that'll be a good thing.
Okay, Cam, you can go ahead. Have you went up? And
sure.
Much love, family. I love family. Dude, look, I like Cammy out in the field. Like I said, we must get our African mind back if we're gonna succeed. Like I said, there's a reason why you led everything. There's a reason why you led in technology. There's a reason why you in the beginning of civilization, how you led everything, because your mind wasn't fractured. You knew that you were great people. And the funny thing about it, you knew white people and other people were not better than you. You knew this. You knew all this stuff. Oh, Spike, can you hear me, Spike? I think I lost.
Yeah, I hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you knew back then. Like I said, you even wrote books. You wrote books laughing at the no good white Arab and the Caucasian because you were on top. Like I always give you that one book from the book because Iraq was black still then. Wasn't called Iraq yet. Still part of Persia. That was black. See a black man, right? Hey, there's no other race is going to be able to beat black people. Sadly, he didn't know we were going to get conquered, go into slavery, and colonized. He wrote that book in the 9th century to how the black race is dominant over all other races. He didn't know we were going to get messed up. he didn't. He couldn't be. He wasn't a fortune teller. He didn't know eventually the black was going to go under. So much love, family.
Much love to everyone. We appreciate everyone join us on the show today. And this has been the Black Coach Fire Network Express Show. And I think you can also check out the live on this channel by Kami. I think she will be showing us a little bit of the university.
Kami, we're gonna look forward to looking at Kami's live. Yeah, that's right. That's the last thing. And Spike will set up her camera for both YouTube channels so she can be filming. Like you said, I forgot it was able to do that. I forgot that. Right. So and we'll set up your phone to do it too. I see them. We'll talk after. We'll talk behind the scenes, Spike. Go in the test section for me. Much love, family. We're gone.
Okay, much love to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Make sure you check out that particular live with Kami showing you one of the best universities in Kenya. It's known as the Jomo Kenyatta Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology. Till then, much peace and love. Kwaheri.